My name is Deanna Milne. I am currently a facilitator for the University of Western in the International Baccalaureate Educator Certificate course in Leadership. And I'm also currently the high school and IBDP coordinator for International Community School of Addis Ababa. Teaching internationally for me started with Teachers College. I really wanted to travel, so I went to the University of Glasgow, and from there I went to Australia, and then home to Canada for a little while, and then I went to the UK, and in the UK I was lucky enough to get a maternity leave contract at an IB school and just fell in love with the IB, and I've been teaching it ever since. From there I went from that school in the UK to help open a new school with that company, ICS in Doha. And after that, I went to Tanzania to the International School of Tanganyika. I spent 2 years in the Bahamas after my 3 years in Tanzania, and now I'm here in Addis Ababa. My favorite thing about the IB program is that it is based on conceptual and inquiry-based learning. So rather than memorizing facts or statistics or specific content, students are given free rein to explore concepts in their various subject areas. And what's really exciting is when those subject areas have ideas that cross over and students can pull and transfer their knowledge from different areas into the learning that they're doing. Because the IB is concept and inquiry based, it means that as teachers, we can focus on the skills that students developed. And so along with their academic skills of things like researching and analyzing texts, we can also look at skills like their ability to organize and their study skills and their communication skills. And because they're looking at larger concepts within their classes, and summatives are varied, and students get a chance to show off their different skills and abilities as well as recognize these areas for growth. It means that these larger concepts meet with these skills that students are practicing within each unit, and it can be really exciting to see what they come up with. Teaching internationally has been one of the greatest adventures I've ever been on. I fell in love with the idea when I went to Scotland, and then when I went to Australia I got really lucky and was teaching in an Australian state school that had a large Aboriginal population, and I was so overwhelmed by the opportunity to learn about a different culture and people who have different traditions than those that I grew up with or that I've ever experienced before. And I made some mistakes along the way, but those I realized were learning experiences, and the ability to learn about how other people in our world live their lives, I think, really connects with that IB philosophy of creating global citizens. And from there, I was really wanting to experience this in other cultures, and when I found the IB, I realized there was a whole world of organizations and schools that do this. And moving from the UK to the Middle East, again, another culture that I'd never experienced and gained so much respect for while I was there. And I just think that it really opened up my eyes to a brand new world and the opportunity to learn about other places and people and history. And in doing that and becoming involved in this IB school community, I learned, and I have learned over the past few years especially, that it's a small international school world, and every international school I go to now, every conference I go to, every workshop, I usually always meet someone who knows someone that I know from another school, or I've met at another workshop, and it becomes this amazing network of like-minded individuals who agree on their philosophy and their approach to education and the benefits that it has for students, and also have that love of experiencing new places and new people. You don't necessarily need training to get into an IB school. I didn't have any when I got my first contract in London at ICS. I did have some experience teaching in the TFU in inquiry-based learning. However, I didn't have any formal IB learning. There are opportunities like this course through Western that's offered. There's a teaching and learning course as well as the leadership course for the IB educator certificate. And there are also numerous Category 1, Category 2, and Category 3 workshops offered through the IBO website that you could look into. But it isn't something that is required to be hired at every school. Some schools will look for it depending on the demographic of what they have of teachers in terms of training. But the IB does have a requirement that at least one person in each department has to be trained, so that working in collaboration with other teachers in their department, they share that knowledge and that training, that approach to the framework. And so if you do get a job at a school where they hire you without any training, usually in most schools they have budgets for things like training teachers and sending them on trainings or doing an online course, and you'll be able to learn as you go. And for me, learning in the classroom and working with the teachers at my first IB school was one of the most rewarding experiences I had. When I moved to Doha and we opened a new school, I found myself ready to develop curriculum for the MYP as well as the DP, to build a CAS program and to go through MYP and DP authorization processes. There are lots of recruitment agencies for IB schools. You could do a simple search on Google for international school recruiting agencies. There are lots out there. They give you lots of information, like the number of students at a school, the package that a school will offer, what you could expect to save in a year if you take a job at that school. They let you know the programs that they offer. They tell you the demographic of teachers and of students. So if you're looking for a really rich international experience, like we have here at ICS, then these recruitment agencies usually give you that information, so you know what your classrooms or what the school itself as a community looks like and what they celebrate. Usually schools' websites also are a great tool to look into what the school does and what they value in the programs that they offer. And so when I'm looking at a school to look at potential positions, I scour their website. I look at everything they offer. I look at the programs. I look at their mission, vision, values. If I speak with the school, I ask how that mission, vision, and values is embedded in the practice at the school. And at a school like this, at ICS, we see it every day. And the idea of being our best within the community, and then also taking care of ourselves and taking care of others in this place, is really something that is said by the school but is enacted by the school. And so it's really great when you can speak to a school and see how those things are shown in everyday school life and also in the special events. Another thing that is important to look for is the involvement the school has with the community. Do they have community partnerships? Are they, sustainable community partnerships that students have abilities to lead activities with, and the programs of study that are offered? There's so much to consider, but finding out about jobs, there are these recruiting agencies, but I would say that the websites are some of the most important things because they give you so much information on the schools. Additionally, if you know someone in IB schools, again, like I said, it's a really small network of people. Even though it's a large network, it seems small at times. And if you have people that you can chat with about schools and what schools are like and what they offer, then people that are already at them will be able to give you some of the best insight. International schools tend to become part of groups within the region that they're in. So for instance, here at ICS, we're part of the ICEA group of schools, which is the International Schools of Southern and Eastern Africa. And we do various activities with these different schools, sports, arts events, different workshops. We're also part of the ASA community of schools, which is the Association of International Schools in Africa. And again, we work with ASA to do a lot of workshops with our teachers and collaborate in terms of the programs being offered at schools. It opens up a lot of opportunities. For instance, myself as a DP coordinator, I can chat with a DP coordinator at another school quite easily as we see each other quite often throughout the year, or we communicate via Zoom or whatever it is however it is we're meeting. And so it opens up this world of collaboration, not only in terms of activities outside the classroom, but in terms of professional practice as well. And that's something that I think is invaluable to teachers. I've grown so much and learned so much from people that I've actually never even worked with because I've communicated with them and built relationships. There's even Facebook groups for various DP subjects where teachers from all over the world collaborate with each other to share ideas and to moderate. Within the framework, it's really important to make sure for the IB that you're being consistent with the IB and its expectations. And so having different people around the world to communicate with to make sure you're being consistent as well is, I think, one of the most invaluable things about the IB and the ability to collaborate with others, knowing that their framework, while it may look a little bit different because they're in a completely different context, the basis of it and the expectations of it are the same. So that's something that I think is a really exciting thing for collaboration. The other thing in terms of students being able to travel to other schools and stay with families and participate in things like volleyball tournaments, and I see a drama and music and swimming and rugby and all the sports that there are, and these schools all compete against each other. It creates a community of schools here in this region, and that's also really exciting for students and teachers. Definitely are challenges to living far away from your family and your friends and the people you know and grew up with, and the life that you knew and grew up with and your kind of norms. Like I said, it's incredibly exciting to experience cultures outside of those that you know and that you grew up with. But sometimes it can be challenging, and sometimes you're presented in a moment where you have to stop and think, maybe how I would react to this isn't how I need to react to it here. Or even something as simple expectations from one culture to another. One of the things I love here in Addis, and I also found in Tanzania, was this expectation of greeting people and genuinely caring about how they are before you get to what it is you need. I love being asked, good morning, how was your weekend? I hope you're having a good week. And I love hearing that from people, and I just think it brings us together more as kind of humans rather than just saying, hi, I need this. And so it's even little things like that I find are things that need to be adjusted to sometimes. Sometimes, depending on where you are, the way that a country is run can be very different from what you're used to as well, and realizing that you're in a country as a guest, and it's a privilege to be able to be welcomed and into that country and to work there, and learning about why things are done the way they are. While you might not always agree with them, knowing that you are here to learn, and it's an opportunity to learn and to develop yourself, can be one of the most rewarding experiences, but again, can be a large challenge. You will probably, depending on how far away from home you go, you miss things like the weekend birthday parties and the quick family get-togethers, or high school reunions and such. Some of those things, depending on the timing of them, friends' weddings, etc. Thank goodness for Zoom now. But you miss some of those things because sometimes it's not always realistic to fly home on a Friday, come back on the Sunday, depending on where you are. But I feel like the rewards that you get in terms of learning about other cultures, meeting other people, one of the best things about international schools for me is the people you work with sort of become like your family in that place. You have other people with you who understand the sacrifices that you've made because you've made them as well, or they've made them as well, sorry, and you automatically have this understanding between you of what it's like to live far away from home, and there's this automatic kind of support of each other, and you know that you have people that you can chat with, or people that you can be a little bit sad with if you're missing something at home. And I mean, with technology as it is these days, and as big as things like Zoom and video calling have become, and what we have at our fingertips, I've found it so much easier now, 10 years, a decade down the road from when I started international teaching to when I first started. I can speak with relatives halfway around the world very, very easily. The only real challenge is sometimes the time difference. So, but if you don't mind calling your relatives at 2 a.m. for them, that's fine. In addition to all of that, I would say that you are going to face small challenges every day. Things like power outages, things like internet outage, depending on where you are, things like certain programs on your computer that might not work where you're working and they worked at home, or there's way more rain here in 3 months than I've ever seen in my life. But those things, I think, actually help develop you as a person. If I think about the IB and the approaches to learning skills and the idea of balance and the things that the programs like CAS that bring in different activities and learner profile words like risk takers and inquirers, these kind of experiences and the challenges that you face actually make you, I think, a stronger person. When I go home and I center myself, I'm around my family. It's still really, really important to me to do that. I go home as often as I can. Most schools will also give you a flight allowance every year to your home of record to help in that, because they recognize that as an expat, you are facing these challenges, and it's important to go home and have that time to kind of recenter yourself and be around the people that really, really know you. And so that's something that is one of the benefits as well. On top of that, a lot of people might not use that time to go home, and then you're in this amazing location. Like here in Addis, it's incredibly easy for me to get to Europe or other countries in Africa, or maybe over to India, or I'm just trying to think of all the places that I want to go while I'm here. And it opens up this opportunity not just to experience the culture that I'm living in at the moment, but also those around it. And so that's another really huge benefit, I think, outside of the teaching job itself, which is, I think, already quite rewarding. If you are interested in learning more about the IB, it would be a great idea to check out the ibo.org website. Additionally, you can get a hold of the University of Western about the IBEC courses that are offered. The teaching and learning is a great way to introduce yourself to the framework itself and how it is seen in the classroom for the PYP, the MYP, the DP, and the CP. And then if you are interested in a leadership lens and looking at the IB through a leadership lens and have some IB experience, then the leadership program for the IBEC would be a great opportunity as well. And it's also a great opportunity to connect with IB teachers and leaders from all around the world.